No one in the studio expected Jamie Dornan to drop a bomb in the middle of a live television broadcast. The show had started like any other: bright lights, rehearsed jokes, a cheerful audience waiting to hear charming stories from the beloved actor. But everything shifted the moment the host casually mentioned Dakota Johnson's name. A spark flickered in Jamie's eyes, the kind that told viewers something unplanned was about to escape. The host asked a simple question, one Jamie had dodged for years. What's something about Dakota that the world doesn't know? Jamie laughed at first, trying to deflect, but then his expression changed, softer, more vulnerable, and the room seemed to lean in. He hesitated for just a second before saying it. There's something about Dakota, something I've never told anyone. Those words alone were enough to freeze the entire audience. Cameras zoomed in, producers panicked behind the scenes, and millions watching at home felt their hearts climb into their throats. Jamie continued speaking, ignoring the frantic signals off stage. He revealed just enough to ignite global chaos, but not enough to fully explain himself. His voice grew quieter, more emotional, as he said, "She did something for me years ago, something I've kept private. Something that changed everything." That was it. That was the moment the internet exploded. Clips ripped from the livestream flooded TikTok and Twitter, X within minutes. Edits of Jamie's face, his trembling voice, his intense stare, were replayed thousands of times. Fans began dissecting every syllable he said, every breath he took, every micro-expression that flashed across his face. People claimed they saw a confession hiding between his pauses. Others insisted he was finally admitting the truth about their off-screen chemistry. But the talk show audience had felt something even more powerful: the silence. A silence so thick, so electric, it felt like a collective heartbeat had stopped. Jamie Dornan, the man who had avoided personal drama for nearly a decade, had finally slipped. And Dakota Johnson had no idea it had happened. At the very same moment, Dakota was across the country shooting a new film. Her phone was off, her focus on the scene, unaware that her name had just become the most searched phrase on the internet. Crew members whispered between takes, scrolling through their screens with wide eyes. Someone finally approached her with a nervous smile and said, "You might want to see this." Dakota watched the clip in stunned silence. Jamie's voice, soft and familiar. His eyes, warmer than she remembered. His words, heavy with a meaning she felt but never acknowledged out loud. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it. As if he was talking directly to her, not to millions of strangers. She replayed the video several times, searching for clues. Was he confessing something? Was he apologizing? Was he finally breaking under the weight of all the rumors tying them together for years? The truth was, Dakota understood Jamie more than anyone else. She knew his carefulness, his discipline, the way he guarded his personal life like a fortress. For him to speak even one unfiltered sentence about her meant he had reached a breaking point. And that terrified her. Meanwhile, the online storm grew more violent by the hour. Fan theories multiplied at light speed. Some claimed Jamie's tone revealed hidden love. Others insisted he was about to expose a scandal. A few said he was finally admitting what they had believed since 50 Shades. That what happened on-screen wasn't just acting. Hashtags took over every platform. Hashtag Jamie said it. Hashtag Dakota secret. Hashtag Live TV Meltdown. Journalists scrambled for statements. Paparazzi rushed to Dakota's location. Producers begged Jamie's team for clarification. And through it all, neither Jamie nor Dakota said a single word. One thing, however, became crystal clear. Whatever Jamie revealed that night was not something accidental. His expression wasn't the face of a man caught off guard. It was the face of someone tired of holding something inside. Tired of hiding. Tired of acting like a chapter of his life had never existed. For the first time in years, the world felt that Jamie Dornan was ready to tell the truth. But the question haunting everyone, from fans to journalists to Dakota herself, was simple. What truth was he finally ready to reveal? By the next morning, Jamie Dornan's unexpected revelation had transformed into a global frenzy. Every entertainment network replayed the moment on loop, slowing down his words as if searching for a hidden confession. Analysts dissected the curve of his smile, the tremble in his voice, and the haunted softness in his eyes. It was no longer just a talk show slip. It was the kind of moment that rewrote narratives and shattered carefully built walls. Jamie sat alone in his hotel room, phone buzzing non-stop, his team demanding clarification. He knew he had crossed a line, but he couldn't bring himself to regret it. There was something liberating about speaking the truth, even if only a fragment of it. He replayed the moment in his mind, realizing he had finally allowed the world to see a vulnerability he'd buried for years. Still, he wasn't prepared for the scale of the fallout. Sponsors were calling. Studios wanted answers. His manager warned him that silence would only create more chaos. But Jamie wasn't thinking about his career. He wasn't thinking about the headlines. He was thinking about one thing: Dakota's reaction. The memories he hinted at during the interview were not meant for the world. They belonged to a moment years ago, during one of the darkest periods of his life. Jamie had been struggling privately, overwhelmed by pressure, terrified of failing both as an actor and as a husband. Behind the scenes of 50 Shades, he hid exhaustion behind smiles and anxiety behind jokes. And it was Dakota who noticed. She became the quiet anchor he didn't ask for but desperately needed. She stayed with him during late-night rehearsals when he felt like collapsing. She helped him breathe through panic. She reminded him he was more than the criticism, more than the character, more than the noise. Dakota had seen the fragile version of him that no one else was allowed to witness. That was the secret Jamie had exposed. Not a scandal, not a romance, but an emotional truth he had guarded to protect her. Meanwhile, Dakota struggled with her own storm. The media twisted Jamie's words into sensational headlines. Jamie confirms hidden history with Dakota Johnson. The truth behind their private bond revealed. Dakota's past comes back to haunt her. She felt exposed in ways she never wanted. Not because the truth was shameful, but because it was theirs. A piece of their connection that was meant to stay private. For the first time in years, Dakota couldn't hide behind professionalism or dry humor. The world had glimpsed a vulnerability she thought she left buried on old sets and forgotten stages. She knew she needed to speak to Jamie. Not for the cameras, not for the fans, for herself. When she finally called, there was no anger in her voice. Just a quiet heaviness. Jamie apologized instantly, but she cut him off gently. "You weren't wrong," she said. "But it wasn't something you needed to carry alone." Her words hit him harder than any headline. In that moment, he realized that everything he'd held inside, the gratitude, the guilt, the emotion, had been building not to explode publicly, but to come back to her. Dakota told him she understood why he said it, even if the timing had turned their lives upside down. She confessed she'd always wondered when he would acknowledge what they shared, even if it wasn't romantic. But she also reminded him of the price. "You know they'll twist this," she whispered. "They always do." He did know, yet something in him had shifted. Maybe he was done pretending their bond was shallow. Maybe he was tired of hiding one of the most meaningful relationships of his life. Maybe the pressure had finally broken something inside him that could no longer be repaired. Hollywood, of course, didn't wait. Talk shows invited both of them. Producers analyzed their emotional intimacy. Former co-stars revealed stories that fed the fire. And the internet kept spinning theories, some wild, some plausible, all filled with desperate fascination. But beneath all the noise, one truth remained unshakable. Jamie had spoken from the heart. And for the first time, Dakota wasn't running from it. Their next move would shape everything: their reputations, their careers, and the fragile trust they had rebuilt in the shadows. Fans wondered if they would appear together. Tabloids predicted a joint statement. Some believed they were finally ready to admit what millions had suspected for a decade. But only Jamie and Dakota knew the reality. And the world waited, breathless, for whatever would come next.